Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Recession Resistant Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb, and today I have a friend. Her name is PG Taylor. She's from Kingston, Jamaica. She moved to the United States in 2006 when she was just 11. I met her roughly 5-6 years ago in Nashville, Tennessee. And she's studied law. She decided to drop out of college. She became an entrepreneur. And, I was blessed to kind of see some of this early on experience with her in the entrepreneur world. So I wanted to bring her on the show. She's got some fantastic stories that I want to jump into. She has had a crazy ride. PG, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brandon. It was good to see you as well. I'm excited that I'm on the show today, and hopefully I can relate to some of your audience today. So let's get on in it.
We're going to have some fun. Yeah, definitely the entrepreneur roller coaster. You've had a crazy ride. For those of the members of the audience who don't know who you are, maybe give us a background. Tell us what your story is.
Yeah, sure thing. So as you all don't know, my name is Peter Gay Taylor. I go by PG for short. It's just a lot easier for everyone to remember me by. It's also a good topic when I first meet people. So that's always great to kind of do an icebreaker with it being my name. So that's great. So I kind of started in real estate back in 2017. So like I told you, yes, I did move to the United States at the age of 11. I kind of navigated through that. I was a kid still, so not much experience to the real world until I kind of got to college. So that was kind of my first experience, just getting out there, working, having a job, any of that stuff. Because being in a Caribbean background, we kind of stay at home. So our parents do not let us work until we're probably out of high school. As long as you're in school, they probably would tell you like you don't have to have a job.
Wow.
So education was a main focus for us. So back in 2017, when I kind of dropped out of school, it was kind of a shock to my family, and they were not ready to hear that whatsoever. I kind of battled the uphill battle of kind of letting them understand, like, yeah, I kind of switched focus. It's not for me anymore. But I started real estate just at first a form of trying to make some money, quick money at that, and quickly found out that quick money is not an option in real estate. So my journey in real estate kind of has just been, like you said, a roller coaster. It's been a fun roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs. And we can go through, a couple of deals that I've done or a couple of different story scenarios, but that's just a quick kind of gist of about me. So far, I currently own my company, Taylor Real Estate Group, and I'm working towards building that company, working with other investors and other entrepreneurs to hopefully do syndication deals in the future, doing bigger apartment deals. That's kind of the gear that I'm heading into, trying to create that passive income future. And then throughout my journey so far, my why kind of switched. Obviously, it was initially to go in it just to make some money, quick money.
Yeah.
And then now it's kind of definitely a longer plan, a longer goal. And it's all about, for me now, is just taking the strides than trying to run a quick marathon. So
I want to go back to your, growing up and kind of in school, and, you were in Jamaica, then you moved to the United States. Did you always know that deep down you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or was there an aha moment?
For me, it was kind of a little bit deep down. It was somewhere in there for sure. I knew I didn't want to work a job, but it was definitely a aha moment for me. So it was actually the moment when I decided to drop out of school. So I was dating a guy, and he's from Louisville, Kentucky. And at the time, we're in college. We had an apartment outside of the university. So that was actually that previous year, I moved off campus. We had an apartment together, and then he randomly just decided that he's gonna move back to Louisville, Kentucky. And I was just like, okay. So am I coming or am I staying? Like, what's the plan here? So I ended up moving to Louisville, Kentucky. And I would say that's kind of it was a good and bad moment for me in my life. And it was actually the pivotal moment for me. So I got to Louisville, Kentucky. I had no job. I had literally just got a brand new car. And I literally had no job for 2 months, broke. The car company was actually started calling me the bank. I was with a credit union. They were calling me so much. And I finally picked up the phone, and I told the lady, I was like, hey, I can't even pay this car note. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm in this bind. I'm looking for a job here in Louisville, Kentucky. I just moved here. And then the bank actually helped me out, skipped one of my payments. So that gave me about 30 days to kind of get caught up, 30 days to kind of, create a game plan and let's do this. So I ended up getting a job at Hertz. They paid weekly. For the first month, I literally killed it, put in hours, mad hours, kind of got caught up on some bills. And then one day I was at work and there was this guy that was, working at Enterprise, which was right beside our booth. And he was actually trading currencies. And I'm just like, hey, I mean, what are you doing? I started asking him questions. And he started telling me like, about currencies, how he's making money with the stock market and making money trading currencies. And he kind of started showing me that a little bit. And I was just like, okay, how, like, it was kind of fascinating me. And like, how are you doing this? You're making money at work with not actually doing work. You're just looking at charts all day. And that was kind of the first aha moment to me, like, well, it is actually possible to kind of make money outside of having your regular 9 to 5. So that was definitely the pivotal moment.
And in that moment, you're like, oh my God, you had this mindset shift. And then what did you do with that? Did you jump into trading currencies?
I immediately
and
jumped in
Forex
trading. I immediately jumped in trading. I immediately jumped in Forex. I probably spent the next weeks just getting my brain washed, was just trying to figure out how to trade, what to do, how to set up accounts. I watched numerous YouTube videos, asked numerous questions, different people. I ended up meeting people in Louisville that was also trading. So I was kind of hanging out with them, kind of figuring it out. My success was I was kind of up and down. I was making a little bit of money, not making money, obviously. But I didn't fully understand it, but I was making a couple quick dollars. So that was kind of interesting to me. And that kind of actually, got my interest, like, because at the time I didn't have that much money. So at the time I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, other ways, I need other hustles. So I kind of just went deep dive into it. I did that for a little bit. I still actually have a lot of friends and I actually still trade to this day, but I don't do Forex or anything like that. I do option trading now. I would say I'm pretty consistent on the option trading right now. I'm probably make maybe about $100 to $200 a day, which is comfortable for me. In and out in a couple hours, and then I go about my day. So that's not bad. But it did not take me quickly to learn that. So it took some years to kind of get a flow going with that originally. So yeah, so I definitely went all in, feet first, head first, we'll say that, but all in, man. I try to go all in everything that I do.
So you started trading options. That was kind of like the aha moment, like I don't have to rely on somebody else to make money. How did that path steer you into real estate and what you're doing today?
So that's kind of a funny story. So I ended up, same relationship I was in, I ended up breaking up with him. And then I ended up moving back home to Nashville randomly, told my mom, because at the time I didn't tell my mom that I was already dropped out of school. And at this time it was probably about 4 months since I've been in Louisville. And so I had to come back home and do the walk of shame and tell my family, like, hey, 4 months ago, I dropped out of school. This is what I did. Like, that was kind of a rough path for me, but came here, kind of got a job with the rental car company. So I was trying to transfer, but at the time it was taking too long. So I immediately got another job with another rental car company at the airport. Mm-hmm. And so while I was doing that, at the time, my mom, her car had messed up. So I was taking her to work in the mornings before I went to work, because we roughly worked around the same time. I was driving her to work every single day. And I was just like, always talking to her about like trying to figure out ways I can make money. And I also had some friends. We used to always hang out and we were always trying to brainstorm, like, how can we make some money? That was kind of always the goal. Like, how can we kind of get out of the rat race? How can we get out of where we are, like where we're trying to, we're living paycheck to paycheck or whatever. So as taking my mom to work every single day, I used to hear on the radio the Stan Merrill commercial. And I was just like, well, what is Stan Merrill? And he's talking about real estate and they were having seminars all around Nashville. And every single morning at the same time, I would hear this commercial like numerous times in that morning for me taking my mom to work and then from my mom's job to my job. So one day, it was pretty much one weekend. I was just like, hey, I'm going to go to this thing. And then it turned out that the Stan Merrill masterclass was actually at the hotel that my mom was working at, because my mom was a supervisor at the hotel at the time. So they were having the masterclass at that same hotel. So I dropped my mom off at work that weekend and I went to the masterclass. Super easy sign up, kind of the same day. Then they, obviously tell you about wholesale. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, wholesale, this is just too good to be true. They didn't want to give you the whole information. So they were like, okay, well, come back in a couple weeks we have this 3-day course. You know, if you guys pay $200, you can get in this little 3-day class, kind of learn about it. I was like, okay, cool. So, and they were like, well, if you bring a friend, you know, now we'll split the price in half. So now, you know, your friend paying 100, you pay 100. So I'm like, okay, cool. Went and found my friend, and I got my friend in, and we split the cost. So we were able to go, spent $100 each, and we spent 3 days pretty much learning about real estate, and just the beginning of real estate. I guess wholesale and the easiest way to get in, with a little bit of cash. And we did that after the 3-day course. I want to say pretty much that same night. I want to say literally the same night, we immediately got on the phone. Immediately, and I will never forget, the class told us to essentially, like, the ways to find cash buyers was on Craigslist. You can find a lot of cash buyers on Craigslist, Facebook. They'll tell you, you know, obviously you've seen people saying, you know, we buy houses. Obviously, some of them are typically cash buyers. So we got on Facebook immediately the same night and started hitting the phone. And one of the first person that picked up was your partner, Alex. And Alex picked up, and, you know, he went through the whole motion with us, answered the call, very polite, answered all our questions and all that. And, you know, I was getting off the phone with him at the end of the call. He was like, hey, I got one question for you, though, like, if you don't mind. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, all day long, you know, I'll answer your questions. And he was just like, are you new to this? And I was just like, yeah. I paused for a second. I was like, should I lie? Like, but the seminar was telling you essentially, like, you know, you don't want to play your cards. You don't want to tell these people like you're new, you know. And I was just like, yeah, I'm new. Like, you know, I don't know what else to say. And then he's like, because I can hear it in your voice. And he kind of gave me this rundown. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So at that moment, I definitely was new. I definitely sounded new. I don't even say those stuff anymore. So pretty much after I met Alex and we were talking on the phone, he offered to meet up. And I was like, well, I mean, this is weird. I just randomly called you and started talking to you on Craigslist. And now you want me to meet you in person? Like, I don't trust that. And I was like, you know, I told him, I was like, hey, I work at the airport and I work at this rental car company. And to me right now, the airport is the safest place. It's like the police precinct because there's cops everywhere. So he was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm flying in, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. If you're flying in, come to my rental car counter and introduce yourself, and then I'll know that you're real, and I'll know, you know, this is legit. And
well, all my coworkers around me, you know.
Right. So he did. He showed up. He introduced himself. He gave me a book called The Goal Givers, and that was my first real estate book. First introduction to kind of the real estate world, meeting somebody who actually did it. So that was kind of cool. I went and had coffee with him like a couple nights later. And I think we met you a couple nights later, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a couple weeks later down the line. And that was kind of my initial kind of wow to real estate. Like, okay, this is starting to be real a little bit.
That is
meeting people that do this.
That is so fun. I had no idea that was your first introduction. I had no idea that he brought you that book. That is so cool to hear that part of the story. Yes. I never even knew that part even happened. Wow. I want to go back before kind of continue this journey on real estate. I think a lot of people suffer with the whole idea of a mindset shift and a lifestyle change. I think you said college at Western Kentucky University, you know, studying law. You dropped out 4 months later. That's something that's extremely tough to deal with mentally, and it has a psychological effect on you because you want to live up to your parents' expectations, and to be able to come home and face your parents and say, wow, hey, I dropped out of school. And, you know, in your heart, you knew it was the right decision, but, you know, your parents are somebody that, you know, they want what's best for you, but they don't know what's best for you, right? They're just trying to put you on a path that has worked for them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. There's a lot of advice around, you know, this space. And honestly, it's very unfortunate. Like, the people who are closest to you want what's best for you, but a lot of times they're usually the ones holding you back because they want you to play it safe. You know, my mom was definitely afraid when I got fired from my job in medical sales. She wanted me a nice, safe job with insurance because that's what worked for her.
Right.
But, you know, that advice can hold you back. run me through, how did you deal with the mental obstacles? Like, what were you going through mentally when you dropped out of school and had to come home with your parents? And then, like, how did you overcome, their perception of that instance, because, maybe they were disappointed, that dealing with that, especially being at a young age, is really difficult to do. Because I'm sure some of the audience members right now, whether they're a husband who is thinking about maybe quitting his job, he's got a wife and kids, he's going to get some pushback from that. Or maybe it's a, stay-at-home mom who's wanting to get her side hustle up. There's going to be a mental shift that happens to go after your dreams. How did you do it?
So for me, oh man, it was definitely an uphill battle with my family. I'll say that. Every time I would speak to them, every conversation I have, it was always that question of, so when are you going back to school? Definitely, I would say every single conversation is, when are you going back to school? Well, and then they'll try to run me down on pointers pretty much on why I should go back. And it was always me on the other side of not wanting to explain or not wanting to talk about it. So I would just let them have it. I would just tell them, like, okay, I'll let them have it, or believe whatever they want to be. I'm like, okay, one day. And then now, kind of me shifting in my role as being an entrepreneur, because obviously in the beginning it definitely wasn't easy. I didn't start out getting deals. I was obviously broke, trying to learn and do this at the same time. So it made it even harder for my family to kind of believe, like, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm going to be doing, just because there was no physical evidence of the fruit of my labor at that moment. So it's completely uphill battle. For me, pretty much after a while, I started to tell them, like, I'm not going back to school. I kind of just started being straightforward up front and stood my ground on that. Like, hey, I'm not doing this, but I'm doing this. And eventually I'm going to be able to show you, why this is my choice or why I did this. And I started explaining a little bit. And then now I catch myself trying to tell my family, like, there's other ways, there's this, and I'm trying to educate them. And it was a lot harder at first, but now a lot of them are coming around. Like, my mom is actually now one of my biggest supporters, because at first she definitely didn't believe me. And now, after I kind of got a couple of deals and she's like actually seeing it, she's like, oh man, okay, this is actually working. Like, how is that going? She's, I'm hearing her ask me, how is everything going? How is this? Like, what's going on with that deal? Have you talked to this person? Like, so now I'm like, okay, I got this person that's asking me, like, trying to hold me accountable, and she didn't even believe me at first. So that's kind of fun. So for anyone I'll say out there that's actually, having problems, like trying to explain to their spouse or their family, or anyone that's kind of giving them doubt or trying to, tell them to stay the safe way, the only thing I have to say to them is kind of, you don't know your limits until you actually just do it and step out there on faith, because you will never know unless you do it. And for me, I didn't want to keep playing it safe. I wanted to take that risk. And I knew for myself, like, okay, if I fail, this is the risk that I agreed to take. And I knew what could come of it. And I just believed in myself, and I took that faith, and I kind of excluded what my family or my friends or anyone that wasn't on board on what I was doing at the time. I was doing it for me. So I wasn't doing it for them. And I believed in me and what I could do. So I just let them have it in the beginning. And then after a while, I kind of just came around on, like, okay, well, now you're seeing a little bit. Now I'm letting you know, like, this is my full focus. And now they don't even ask me, like, are you going back to school? Now they're just like, how's real estate?
Yeah.
So that was great.
So what steps did you take to combat that pushback, when you got it? So it sounds like they eventually, like, the here and now is they're supportive. They don't even ask, right, hey, are you going back to school? And it's, hey, how's real estate doing? And like you said, it sounds like your mom has become the biggest advocate. Right. Hey, when's the next deal? Did you follow up with some? That's awesome. I've always, my dream is to get my family more involved in my business in some way, shape, or form someday. How did you do that? How did you get her from being someone who was kind of trying to push you away, hold you back, and now she's in your corner? How did you do that?
So it wasn't easy, but it just goes back to the conversations that I was having with them, just explaining to them, showing them, like, my mom pretty much wasn't the person, like, I don't want to watch these money making videos, or I don't want to watch, or hear about money or all that, because it wasn't obviously easy for my family growing up. I mean, we weren't rich, we weren't, in a good space. So for me, trying to focus on doing something other than having a good job and making money that way, that was kind of hard on her, trying to understand all that. So for me, like I said, I was just having the conversations, trying to explain to her the business, more so trying to convince her on me doing it. Just trying to give her another perspective and educate her on other opportunities out there. Because I think for a lot of people in the world, they don't know. Like, yeah, they know about real estate. Yeah, they know about realtors. That's kind of the forefront of it all. Realtors help people buy and sell houses, but they don't know who's building those houses, or they may do know that there's builders obviously building the houses, but they don't know the gist of the whole thing. They don't know investors that are out here flipping houses or stuff like that, or how they're able to do it. So it was me educating her on how am I able to do this, the opportunities that are out there for me, and getting her to understand that way. And after a while, she was kind of coming around like, okay, well, and she started asking me questions like, because my mom, she doesn't own her own house and she wanted to buy her own house. So she was basically setting herself up for that as well. So me educating her was helping her on her journey to home ownership as well. So that was kind of how I kind of, go back and forth with her. It was just not to convince her like, hey, this is what I'm doing and all that. It was just more so an educational way. And then that led to the come around. So.
Now, was there a specific moment where you felt things shift? I know you mentioned earlier a big part of, winning, getting your family in your corner was them actually seeing like the deals. Would you say that was the threshold that you had to hit?
No. So I got my first deal. So after I got my first deal, I made $5,000 my first deal. That was the most money I've made in one sitting, I would say, all at once. So I made $5,000, and I went home with a $5,000 check, and I'm showing everyone in my house, and I'm like, I just made $5,000 from real estate.
Yeah.
Can you believe this? And then she was shocked. So that was kind of a little, okay, you made $5,000, is real. And then my second deal that I got, that was super emotional for me because it was a lot of back and forth. The beginning of my real estate journey, I was crying a lot. It's a lot, not the physical work, but more so the mindset. It was a lot. It was strenuous on you. It was just exhausting. I would say that just the mindset alone, like trying to keep your emotions out of it. So by my second deal, when I got that, after like doing a lot of crying and my family comforted me, it was mostly my mom, because I lived with my mom and my little sister. So mostly them kind of comfort me like, it's going to be all right. Maybe it's not this one, it's the next one, whatever. So by the time I got my second deal and it worked, I only made $2,500 on that second deal. But I was kind of like, I did another deal. And then my mom was like, okay. So now we kind of got a little, momentum going, like we're 2 deals in. So now it's, that's kind of the change of the believer moment.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway I've gotten, if you're an audience member who has a spouse that, maybe you're thinking about, how do I win this person on board? Or, maybe it's your family that you're trying to get over in your corner. One of the great things it sounds like to shoot for is the actual physical seeing it is believing, right?
Yep.
The sooner you can get to, 1 or 2 deals and just, show them that the money is real. I think that is a great goal to shoot for if that's what you're trying to achieve. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that story right there. What are you now? Tell the audience a little bit. What are you doing today? What are you up to?
So today, currently in my real estate world, I am supposed to actually be looking at a house today in Clarksville. I'm actually looking to buy that one. I've been talking to the owner for a little bit. It's fairly cheap within my price range, or something that I can afford, and hopefully it will be a rental. We'll see how that goes. So I'm working that deal right now. And then I have a development deal that I'm actually working on with you guys, that I started out, and it kind of came, you guys circled back around trying to, get that help to kind of further my education on different aspects of real estate, because there's obviously different avenues. And other than my real estate world, and obviously still doing wholesale deals in between whenever I can, but that's kind of not my focus anymore. Like I'm looking for the value in deals now, like more so just trying to do these quick wholesale deals, and whenever I can find one, it's more so now I'm trying to turn into the buyer. I'm trying to be like, I want the block now. I don't want to, hike these prices up for somebody else to continue to be my competition. Now I want to be able to try to keep something for myself. So that's my focus in my real estate world. That's what I'm doing right now. Outside of that, like I said, I trade options. I'm trying to get better at that every day. That's another form of income for me. And as well as that, I think I told you the other day, I'm actually looking to get into kind of the trucking business a little bit. My dad used to drive trucks, so I kind of know a little bit about it. And then I have a friend that her dad actually drives trucks currently as well, and she was dispatching for him. So we're kind of coming together a little bit with her knowledge in the trucking business, and then also what I know, and then my accessibility to be able to kind of somewhat use some of my funds from real estate to start this business up as well. And, being able to have her as like a dispatcher, somebody that I can lean on and help as well. So for her, she doesn't have the funds to kind of go out there and get a truck or get financing as yet. Whereas I may have a better credit score or something that I could go and try to get the finance. So we can put our money together to get a truck that way. So we're kind of using our separate skills and our separate expertise to kind of get that going. We've been working on it for a little bit now, maybe about 3 months. Haven't pulled a trigger on getting a truck yet. Obviously, just trying to make sure we know all the ins and outs as much as possible. Not trying to get stuck in that analysis paralysis stage, but still just trying to understand everything as a whole. I mean, we don't want to go in with a whole bunch of surprises, obviously, and just trying to limit our risk going in initially. So definitely working on that. That's been my focus a little bit. It's not to replace my real estate business at all, but I thought that for me, that active cash flow would be great because that cash flow can turn into something else. I obviously don't want to be doing the trucking business forever as well. My overall goal is essentially to have my businesses operate without me there. But I want to be able to, create that passive income. I don't want to be stuck in the business. Like I want to enjoy my life. Obviously, everyone wants to, and just, not just for me, but for my family as well. So that's kind of the goal that I'm leading towards. But I think this cash flow would assist me with other stuff, would assist me continuously running my real estate business as well. Because as you know, monthly marketing budgets are expensive. So you got to keep that ball rolling. You got to keep the wheels spinning. So I think that would also assist with being able to diversify cash and being able to play the game more, being able to buy more properties, being able to leverage more. Because I feel like that's kind of what is currently part of what holds me back is it's a little bit slower for me on my deals because, I'm still one person. I'm still building my capital. So I can only buy certain deals in my buy box or do this or, whatever I'm doing with my cash at that moment. So I think adding another, obviously, cash flow in business could help accelerate my real estate business as well a little bit faster than what it is. But like I said, I'm kind of in the long run now. I'm taking strides versus running, quick meters.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I'm excited to get this development deal done with you because I now want to see the look on Mama's face when you bring that check home to her.
Man,
I'm invested in that now. Well, very cool. Well, PG, if anybody wants to follow you or reach out to you or get in touch, learn more about you, how do they do that?
I am on Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook name is PG Buys Houses. On Instagram, it's also the same thing, except there's PG_buys_houses. So almost close enough, but you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. You can also reach me by email. My email is taylorrealestategroup@gmail.com. And group is spelled GRP. So taylorrealestategroup@gmail.com. So you guys can find me anywhere there. I'm very interactive on Facebook a lot. A lot of my real estate community is on there. So try to keep in contact with them. So if you hit me up on Facebook, I'll probably definitely respond to you. If you're new, if you're far ahead, way further than me, I'm always looking to learn and grow every single day. Brandon, you always know I'm asking you questions. So definitely I'm interested in meeting anyone in any part of their journey.
Okay, very cool. PG, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for taking the time. It was great to see you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you getting me on your show.
Absolutely. See ya.
See ya.